A recent report by brokerage firm Ambit Capital has thrown up a scary picture of the Mumbai market, saying that the prices in Mumbai could come down by as much as 60%. While we don't really buy that theory at all and actual on-ground numbers don't support this hypothesis, for the longest time the property markets have shown that there is a trust deficit in the real estate industry. A case in point is the Orbit Corp case. Due to non-payment of dues, this listed company's project, Orbit Residency Park, has been put up for auction by LIC Housing Finance. And at stake are the life savings of hundreds of home buyers who have invested here. What happens in cases like these? Will the buyers ever get a fair deal? Nikhil Shivdas has this report.
Located in a prime location and built by reputed developer, Orbit Residency Park in Andheri was a prize pick during the real estate boom of 2009-2010. But today the project lies incomplete, with Orbit Corporation blaming approvals, lack of funds and a legal tussle with LIC Housing Finance for the delay. Caught in the middle are helpless home buyers who have invested in the project.
There are about 300 flat owners here. We are all from middle class background, and all our hard-earned money is invested in this project. So we are fighting for our flats.
Orbit has been saying that they will repay all the money and give you possession, but this they have been saying for last 2 years. So nothing is happening on their side.
The project was taken over by LIC Housing Finance in 2013 due to non-payment of dues. At that time, Orbit Corporation told NDTV it was working on a plan to recover the property. But with no action on the ground, LIC Housing Finance has now put up the property for auction. However, Orbit Corporation sold nearly 295 apartments before the project was taken over, with buyers paying anywhere between 40 to 90% of the project costs. And these buyers have now taken to the streets, worried that they will lose their homes.
As a buyer of the flat, जब एक ऑक्शन नोटिस लग गया और ये फ्रेश बिल्डर्स को इनवाइट कर रहा है, so that is a worry for us. पुजीत अपनी तरफ से स्टेटमेंट कर रहा है, पर LIC कह रहा है he has taken control of the property. पर वो किसी को कुछ कम्युनिकेट नहीं कर रहे कि भाई हम आपका प्रोटेक्ट करेंगे, whether registered, non-registered.
Protests like these are becoming commonplace as big builders with marquee projects run out of funds are unable to complete it. But housing experts say these home buyers should not worry and should let the auction continue. They claim buyer interests will be protected as long as the buyers have proof that they have made payments and entered into an agreement. What's more, a new developer will bring in fresh capital, enabling speedy completion of the project.
I don't think this is warranted because whoever steps into the shoes of the new builder acquires the assets and the liabilities. So the rights of the buyers are not likely to be affected by a new person being substituted for the existing builder. I think it's a good step, and in fact the flat buyer should support this auction and ensure that some proper builder comes in so that they can get their flats.
Industry experts say new developers will definitely be interested, considering that the project comprises a little over 100,000 square feet and has already been partially completed. And once the auctions are over, these home buyers will be able to take up the matter with a new developer and end their long wait once and for all. From Mumbai, Nikhil Shivdas, NDTV.
Well, this project is located in a prime location and built by a so-called reputed developer. Orbit Residency Park in Andheri was a prize pick during the real estate boom of 2009 and 2010. What has happened? Slow sales has meant distress in the real estate market, and several properties have come up for auction by banks. These could come at a discount which make them quite mouth-watering. The big question is, should you be looking to find a good deal in the auction market? Roongta, founder and CEO of Apnapaisa.com, joins us. Harsh, of course, we just talked about Orbit Corp's entire project getting auctioned to LIC. Now, in this case, the existing buyers will be protected, I'm sure, but the bank empty vacant flats will be auctioned by LIC to recover some of its money. Tell me, in the last 6 months or so, has there been an increase by banks in auctioning such repossessed properties?
Oh, absolutely. I think banks and other lenders such as LIC Housing Finance, I think all of them have been on an overdrive to protect their NPAs and to try and collect on their NPAs. Of course, most of the problem lies on the corporate side rather than on the retail lending side. But obviously, I think home finance is also an issue, and very distinct from the auction that you just mentioned. that was an auction of the builder's interest in a property. I think the auctions that we are talking about are consumers who have defaulted and their properties are being auctioned. I think even that we have seen lots of activity, especially from the public sector units who are looking aggressively to bring down their NPA levels.
I know they're using everything. I mean, the NPAs in fact have become scary for the PSU banking sector. All right, so now let's come down to whether there's a bargain in these repossessed properties which are getting auctioned by banks or not. How much cheaper are they? Are they 5% cheaper, 10% cheaper, or are they just a couple of percentage points cheaper?
See, cheap, I think I would be, and every consumer should be extremely suspicious of something that supposedly quote unquote comes cheap. I mean, nothing comes cheap in a market where the information is clearly transparent. So just to give you a quick background, what comes up for auction in terms of repossessed properties are properties of borrowers who are non-cooperative with the banks.
Right.
Those who are cooperative with them have defaulted, but if they are cooperating with the banks, then they would make a regular sale because that is in the interest of the buyer himself, since he typically realizes market value for it. And please remember, whatever value the bank may realize, it can only keep back the amount that is due. Anything above that has to be returned to the borrower. So clearly most cooperative borrowers would cooperate with the bank to make sure that the sale happens outside of an auction. Anything that comes to auction by definition is of a non-cooperative borrower, and that is why you see it is typically the public sector units whose auctions are more popular. Very few, in fact very little of public auction is seen in the private sector lenders for homes. So I think very clearly they are not cheap. I mean, I would caution buyers about that. It is not meant, this is something that you must do your complete due diligence on. Obviously, sometimes if you are eyeing a particular area and you getting a flat in that area, if you do your due diligence, you should bid for it. Otherwise, for a lay person, I would advise to keep away. This isn't cheap. There is a saying that a cheap lawyer is the most expensive lawyer on earth. I think similar thing applies for cheap property.
So am I hearing that if you actually went out in the market today where there is a slowdown, you could actually get much better mouth-watering deals from sellers who are desperate to get out, or especially investors who are desperate to get out of some of the properties that they're holding, rather than trying to get the bank auction route? Am I hearing that, Harsh?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and if you're prepared to take the risk on an under construction project, again, not something I advise. I have always maintained that when you buy under construction, you are actually lending money. But I mean, if you're willing to take the risk, obviously you will get a much better deal for a much better title.
Okay.
Even today, second sale from consumers who are staying in properties but need the money urgently, it is coming, it is clearly a buyer's market. It is coming at extremely good deals.
Okay, finally, just to understand, I mean, if that's the case, then banks must be finding it very difficult to auction these properties. If they're not willing to actually reduce the prices, they want to extract their pound of flesh, then how are they being able to sell those repossessed properties?
So it hasn't really been a huge success. If you look at the auctions, I mean, you look at the major banks, SBI has been a major auctioneer. From whatever reports are available, I think only 15, 20 or probably 30% of the properties have been sold. The others have just been carried over. So I don't think it has been a huge success, partly to do with the fact that the markets are not doing well, partly to do with the fact that people are suspicious of anything that has come up on auction.
All right, there might be some pending dues and you don't know what the nature of the, power between the bank and the borrower has been, and I think it's risky. Unlike though, I must say, we might have a few things to learn from the US, Harsha. That is a great auction market. I mean, when the properties there go in auction, they're real auctions, you can actually get very, very good deals, isn't it? Hopefully we'll reach there someday. Distressed markets always throw up newer selling and buying models. Thanks very much for joining me today. All right, let's move on. We've got this question from Sandeep Hamra, who joins us on the phone line.